organization you're working within right now? So I want to start like kind of towards the middle. Let's start with Louvino. Like, what was the path that led you there?
The path that led us there, yeah. So, and I'll take a step further back. So my wife and I are both pharmacists by training.
I know.
So as you can tell, I'm a Bulldog fan. Went to Georgia, and yeah, we got the entrepreneurial itch. I guess it was in like 2010, and we opened up this painting and drinking spot called Uptown Art. And those were all the rage, back then, and they've largely gone under. COVID put the nail in that coffin. So we opened up 2 of those. First time we ever did anything business related, and learned a lot. It went over gangbusters. Like, had to be one of the top producing paint and scent places in the U.S. And so we did a second one. And then we were like, man, we're selling a lot of wine. It wasn't good wine. It was like the $2 Chuck stuff, right? That we were buying for $5 or $6 a bottle and selling each glass for about that much. And we're looking around the Louisville landscape, and it's all beer and bourbon. And we said, this maybe, we don't have any restaurant experience. We don't have any bar experience other than this, selling glasses at this painting thing. So we said, I wonder if a wine bar would do well here, because there's just nothing wine related really in Louisville. And we wanted to do like where you put money on a card and you go up to the self-service machines and you get like a 2, 4, 6 ounce pour. We wanted to do one of those, but due to some laws at the time, we just didn't feel comfortable doing it and staying open for more than like 6 months without the ABC knocking on our door. And so we needed it to be bar service, but due to some other laws at the time, we had to have a food component to it. So we found a space. We actually bought a building. It was a 25-year-old restaurant that was there. That they were going to be done. And we created the Louvino concept. We hired an executive chef. We hired kind of the sommelier in training, and we put together a wine list. I didn't know if Merlot was red or white and what Moscato was, and never heard of Camus before. But so we learned a lot, and we leaned on them to create the recipe. And we were more like the brains behind the actual concept and the visionary behind what we wanted this thing to look like. And yeah, we opened the first one after we sold the painting businesses. We knew those were kind of a fad. So we sold those 3 years after we opened them, did pretty well, opened up Louvino. It was a small plates, like a Southern inspired small plates restaurant, 60 wines by the glass. And we really leaned into the wine thing. And my wife and I often kid that the very first time that we ever worked in a restaurant was the night we opened our own. And we were the most qualified, educated dishwashers probably in America, for probably the world, for the first couple of weeks. Washed a lot of glassware. And we really took it all in. We worked a lot of shifts. We figured it out over probably the first year and a half. And then it still was doing very, very well. It was a small place, so we wanted to do something bigger, obviously. And so we opened a second unit in Louisville. And then then we wanted to expand after that. Doing 2 restaurants in Louisville, Kentucky was, I guess, too easy for me. One of the bigger challenge. So we looked at Indianapolis and downtown Indy and Cincinnati. And that's where we opened the next 3. So we needed some additional money to do that. So we met through various contacts, kind of in the venture capital world, whatever. We met a guy, Chuck Schnatter. So he was, as you can tell from his last name, pretty early on at Papa John's, which was founded here in Louisville. So him and his brother and a few others early on Papa John's helped grow that. He was there for 25 years. Was there from basically store zero to 3,500, and brought him on as a partner. We took a little bit of money off the table, and we did locations 4 and 5, and that's kind of that's the Louvino history.
When you sold at 6, right?
We built 5. We sold it to Steve Ritchie, who's had a short stint as CEO of Papa John's. He was forming a restaurant group here locally. And so, we sold it to him, unfortunately, in the bad part of 2020. So we sold in December. So the valuation definitely plummeted due to that. But yeah, it's fine. Like, we wanted to focus on Biscuit Belly, which at that time we had 2 locations. When we sold Louvino, we figured this was something we could scale a little easier. Louvino was, every wine list was different. Every menu was different. It was very chef inspired. Each GM, bar manager, chef kind of had their own autonomy to do whatever they wanted. So yeah, it was like
sounds like a
5.
recipe for disaster, Chad.
Yes. We had a very small but mighty team that kept it all in check, and had some great GMs, some bad ones along the way as well. But it was very difficult. It was like running 5 different concepts. So
what I want to do is I want to dig directly into when you decided to expand outside of your localized area, right? Lightning can strike once. For many restaurateurs, it can strike twice, right? But if you're doing well in other markets for 3, 4, and 5, you're doing something right. You figured out something, right? You've been in the industry for long enough now that if I turned to you and said, 2 pharmacists decided to open a restaurant and they don't know shit about wine and food, you would say they probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and so I would tell them not to do it.
Right. They should not do it. And you did it, and you did well with it. And despite when you sold, you also built something of enough value that somebody else was willing to buy it. You see small mom and pop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 location restaurants shutter when the owners retire because there's nothing to buy, because it's a lifestyle business that barely makes money. And so what did you figure out through that process that you think most people don't?
Gosh, great question. So many people that get into the restaurant industry might be a bartender or a chef or a former GM that they want to own their own spot. Maybe someone is a good cook at home, whatever. Those don't always, you need to be a business person. Honestly, the margins can be extremely thin. Restaurants are one of the only businesses where you're taking in raw products, manufacturing them there, and then selling them to the end consumer. And every end consumer is an expert in what you're doing and has their own opinion. So, you can be the most creative chef in the world and cook the best food, but if you're not watching waste and your profitability and how it's priced and just all the different factors that go into, I mean, it's so cliche and basic, but it's also why many places fail, is they don't have a good business acumen and pay attention to the details, which, just based on our training, like, we are very detail focused people. And we are, at least I am, my wife will say that she is not, but, it's just like the vision. You got to have the vision, right? You got to have the concept that makes sense. And, like, we didn't need another pizza place on the road that we first opened. There's already 12. Now they're all taco places. So we had a niche, unique concept with great food, a wine selection that no one else had in the city. And so we saw it as like just an opening in the business world that needed to be filled. And so we built the right team, which is also very crucial. and didn't just hand the keys over after week 2. Like it was, I mean, I did inventory, the wine inventory, I think for the first like 3 years, just to teach myself, make sure the product was there. We made sure things were priced right. It blew our expectations out of the water of like what our volume was and what we expected. And Biscuit Belly did the same later on. But yeah, and then the second one came and it was twice the size, if not more, of the first one. Totally different area of town, much more affluent. It had its own challenges. And then, then we went out of state. And that was probably the toughest move, because not knowing a city, not knowing people in the city, not knowing who's full of shit and who sucks and who's been fired 100 times. But we actually moved 2 people from our Louisville market up to Fishers, Indiana, which was the second market that we entered. And they knew the brand, they knew the culinary side, and things went well. But when we started to then expand more, that's when things got a little bit more interesting. Because when we weren't moving people that already knew our brand and everything that we were trying to do, the culture, et cetera, and we're just trying to hire from outside, that's when it gets a little bit more rocky.
That's when you have to have real culture, right? And the culture is built off fundamental systems.
Yep. Yeah. And that's one thing that we definitely lacked was, again, each restaurant was run almost like its own concept. And it's difficult. And you're really trusting the people that you hire to make the right decisions. And that doesn't always happen. Certain cities are going to be, that we found, are much easier to hire in and fire. And find
to fire
and fire. Yeah, hire and fire. Yeah, slipped up and it still made sense. But it's still, I mean, it's lost train of thought. We'll cut that part out. But
sure, let's talk about talent. So, one of the things I would assume you're good at is the acquisition of talent. I was literally I'm a coaching consultant myself. I had a call with a bunch of clients today. And, one of the things I mentioned in the call is, I don't know if anyone is worse at hiring than me. The only thing, seriously, like I've never been great at it. And I would say that the great people that I hired, it was more luck than it was skill. Because what I did get really good at was building a culture that attracted the right kind of people. But I mean, in the end of days, if for us, it was all about like a series of 20 questions that if they could get through, that would take them to the next step. Then there was a DISC assessment. We used Culture Index to do that so that I could scan their brain to see what was going on. And even then, I would say that based on how aggressive the onboarding process was, our retention rate in the first 30 days was probably 50%. Hiring, keeping world-class talent is hard. And you built a small business and grew it, and then you did it again. And the only way you did that was through the acquisition of great talent, which is a conversation I feel like I'm having almost weekly. What'd you figure out, Chad? How are you guys bringing in great people and keeping their attention?
Yeah. So it honestly was a little bit of luck in the very beginning, even going back to the art studio. It was some contacts of contacts that just knew people. And largely that was Louvino as well. And we had a very promote from within culture. However, what we did find, and this was what we found out, with Biscuit Belly too. And so I think this is just kind of a general learning that we made, is promoting from within is a great cultural piece that a company can have because people see a path to grow. However, when you are building a startup, the person that was your really good barista may not be a great general manager. The person that's a great general manager may not be. And so there's that fine balance of finding the people, filling the seat that you need with the right people, not taking that person and like finding a seat for them based on their skill set.
Sure.
And what we found is someone that was at a Panera, a Cracker Barrel, or whatever at store 1,000 that helped it grow in quotes 2,000 or 3,000 units is a very different skill set. That's a box checker, in my opinion, than a startup person who can build the systems and the processes and the culture and everything else from the ground up. And who we are hiring almost exclusively now are the people that have had success and experience at sub 50 units, because those people know how to build a startup. We will bring in different people. I'm not saying we're going to fire everybody, right? But we will add to that executive team who have, once we get to this area in our growth, who have the capacity to grow a 50 unit brand to a 100 unit brand. And if that's replacing me, hey, I'll give you the keys. You know, like I am not an egotistical founder that has to be here and will plant my flag and, you know, and unless I die, I'm not going anywhere, because that's also where companies go to die and fail, is when the founder or owner or whatever gets in the way of the potential. So I think I hire smart people and pretty much leave them alone. I give a lot of autonomy. I did that at the art studio, to Louvino, and even at Biscuit Belly, because you hire people that you trust and let them do what they know best, whether that's operations, training, culinary, marketing, whatever. Like I'm still in touch with all these people on a weekly basis, but it is definitely not a my way or the highway. And I think people appreciate that about what we are doing, is they get to have an impact. And people just want to be heard, whether they're customers at your restaurant or they're employees. They want to have a voice. They want to contribute. And so I feel like we've always had this environment that allows that and allows people to flourish.
You mentioned that, you know, when Louvino first opened, it crushed, and the same with Biscuit Belly, and the same with the art and wine concept as well. Is that a function of product market fit, or is that a function of your marketing prowess?
I'd say for the art studio and Biscuit Belly, it was a little bit of both. We because those are two very visual products. Like the art, people are always we had a sign in the studio, and people are holding up their paintings, posting them on social media, so people know. People are like, "What? Where did you do that? Did you paint that?" Blah blah blah. With Biscuit Belly, we have created a very photogenic menu, as well as going down from the food all the way to the plates that we use. We have custom plates that are brand colors that coincide with the decor, the paint, the mural, custom murals we have done, the branding, everything. And so everything that we do is very photogenic, because we know that the cheapest and probably most effective way to market is to have people take pictures of your product, post it on social media. And then so for us, it's always been word of mouth. I would say Louvino was more of that product market fit of just finding a hole, so to speak, in the restaurant industry in Louisville and filling it. But we have, you look at our Instagram, Biscuit Belly Biscuits, and it is full of very colorful, very appetizing, fun, upbeat looking people, photos, drinks, what have you. So we let the customers do that. And we actually, at each new store opening, we have a Instagram ready class. So we make sure that person running expo, before they send the food out, you got to make sure it's Instagram ready, because the last thing you want to do is make it look like, Denny's or something like that. And we are very intentional about the chair color, the paint color, the branding, the tile selection, because you go into, and I won't name them on this, but you go to some other, even biscuit competitors. And it's like the same chairs you see in every restaurant, the cheap $50 like restaurant chairs. And, it's wood and gray and black, and there's no
Sure.
color, there's no fun, there's no excitement. And I think like that's the atmosphere is half the reason people want to come to a place. Food and service are also obviously very important, but
much further down the list, right?
Yeah, I would say they're relatively equal, but at least like when you look at a photo, you're gonna look at the food and then atmosphere. You don't
Absolutely.
know what the service is, you don't know how it tastes, so you want to go to that place that looks cool versus just looks like a everyday diner.
How do you think about frequency? So, again, I'm asking you all of the questions I should ask myself before I open my first place. But like when you look at customer frequency, so when I went from I owned a 900 square foot dive bar on Hollywood Boulevard, right? Doing close to $2 million a year, like a 30+% net
Yeah,
profit. And that entire business was driven by like 5 people with a drinking problem, right? Like it's and because there's tons of frequency there, right? Like the people that patronize that bar 7 days a week. And then we
yep,
got into fine dining. And it was just a
yep,
very different use case. My fine dining restaurant was the first restaurant I had ever worked in my life. And I didn't even conceptualize the idea that like if we did world-class work, if it was the best dining experience you've ever had, I'll see you next year.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. Happy birthday again.
That was it. Right. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
get you on your birthday. But like customer
yeah,
frequency just looks different in different tiers of dining, in different settings, in different use cases. And so, like, when you're building out Biscuit Belly, like, what is that customer? Are they coming in once a month, twice a month, once a week? What does that look like?
yeah. For us, we did some analysis on this. So, and this is a little outdated, but it should still give us some frame of reference. Our loyalty customers come once every 90 days. I'm sorry, our non-loyalty customers come once every 90 days. Our loyalty customers come once every 70 days. So we're getting about an extra 1.5 to 2 visits a year with our loyalty program, just because obviously we're able to market to them once they're in that funnel. We would love for that to be more. We also realize that we don't have the healthiest menu on the planet.
Sure.
These are
That's why I
very,
asked.
yeah. Now we have added over the last, well, we added about a year ago, and traffic is up. So I think we're doing something right. Sales and traffic are up. So we added, a few different omelets, some like build your own breakfast bowls, which at least have this like halo of healthy.
Sure.
It's not a biscuit with gravy and bacon and fried chicken and all this stuff. So it's a like bed of potatoes and spinach and goat cheese and other things. So we are trying to gain frequency. Again, I don't know how our data has shifted. I no longer use the company that told us that. so I don't know. But yeah, I feel like it's working like anecdotally. And depending on the market that we're in, like those things are kind of lifesavers, because we could go into a healthier market. And what we don't want is the veto vote. So
Sure.
you got a group of 4 people, but somebody is vegetarian or they're not eating biscuits that month or whatever. So we have an option for them to get the group of 4 in by having something for that one.
But it's a delicate balance, right? Because, I owned a fried chicken joint myself. And one of the things that we were really serious about was no healthy options on the menu. And the reason that we did it was because like that's not the use case for this restaurant,
Yep.
right? The goal is that you feel better about yourself, but in a very different way than had you had a salad, right?
Yeah.
And
We
so
don't want to lose focus on the
for
biscuit.
sure.
Like we do a lot of fun things with the biscuit that again have that like halo effect. But there's still a biscuit there. It may make you feel better about what you're choosing, but it's not going to have probably a caloric difference on your daily average. But but yes, we are a comfort food, make you feel good, make you feel at home or grandma's house or whatever. Also, great hangover food or pre-gaming for the Bourbon Trail if you're in Louisville. On a very nice base. But yeah, it is not your everyday kind of place, but we still get people that come extremely frequently, just not a lot.
Do you, well, I mean, I'm sure that there's a direct correlation between customer frequency and life expectancy. And I say,
Yeah.
that as a man that grew up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Very true. Very true.
So I want to talk about catering. Is that a core focus of the business?
It is now. We totally revamped our catering about a year ago, about when all the healthy stuff came on the menu. Yes, catering has, I don't have the exact numbers, but it's probably increased 400% or more this year. And I don't know if it's really anything that, I mean, I do think we have made, the packaging looks great because, it's like anything. It's like, why does Apple spend so much on their box, right? Because
Sure.
it's the experience and it looks better than just being in a tin, disposable tin pan. So we have these great boxes. We've totally revamped just the offering. So we do, we call them, this is a piece of it, not the whole thing. It's called Wake and Bakes. So we have these, and we're using day old biscuits. So it's
Amen.
Decreased food waste. So you crumble them up, you mix them with sausage and gravy and cheese, and you put them in the oven. You can make them the day before, bake them up that morning. So we're doing that, biscuit sandwiches, frittatas, a whole lot of things. And yeah, it's been a tremendous success thus far and just continues to grow. So we're pretty excited because we want to be like, kind of our slogan is, some of our marketing is geared around, are you tired of cold bagels? Like, what does everybody go get? They go get muffins and bagels from Panera. And, you want a hot breakfast like that. That is a treat. And we're priced probably even better than the Panera. But you get hot coffee, hot bake, hot biscuits, bacon, eggs. I mean, it's just a totally different experience.
So one of the things I consult on is catering and launching and scaling a catering program. And the reason is when I launched our fried chicken concept, South City, I launched it in a food hall, and the food hall was a barren wasteland. I mean, they thought we were going to come in and be the anchor tenant. And I was like, this is 2 blocks away from the restaurant. This should be easy money. And obviously, as you can imagine, a dumpster fire ensued. But then I figured out, like, I'm in downtown Los Angeles. This is a densely populated corporate area. I'm sure a ton of people in here ordering lunch, right? And it wasn't about convincing people to order catering. It was convincing people that are already ordering catering to choose us, to add us to the portfolio. And I bring it up because it was such a paradigm shift in my own business. In going B2B, we actually built our B2C business. Right? Because people that had never been exposed to the brand are now having it for lunch and then taking their family to that godforsaken food hall, that weekend. It was absolutely amazing for us. And it was at an amazing margin. And I could control it. That's what was so amazing about the B2B business was I could use like conventional industry agnostic outbound strategies to build that catering business. Whereas like, how do you convince somebody to come in for lunch on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
And so as you guys scale out, do you see that becoming a larger part of the business?
Yeah. Right now, I don't know what time frame this was. Maybe it was Q3, maybe it was this year, but we're a little north of 6% of our total sales as catering, which we were basically like zero, the previous 12 months. So yeah, I think so. And the offering is, again, it's unique. It's comfort food. This isn't something that people are eating every day. So it's a nice little treat. It's not cold bagels, which just gets way overdone. So yes, I think so. And I mean, and we're using Easy Cater to manage that. We've tried some fairly unsuccessfully at just some sales organizations to try to push our catering out there. So it's really driven largely through Easy Cater.
I mentioned scaling out, and I'm curious to know, you could have scaled this brand multiple ways. I mean, especially with your exposure to the team from Papa John's, like you
Yeah.
realize that like you could scale up, privately owned through JVs, through franchising, and you're small and getting bigger. So what was your thought process around this, and ultimately, which routes are you going?
We are being very opportunistic, but we think smart about how we're growing. We have a franchise program, so we've got 3 franchise partners right now that we'll have a total of 6 units by the end of in about a couple of weeks, mid November. And yeah, those are some good performing units. It's funny that even though we're based in Louisville, and now granted we have some good stores here, but we've done better largely outside of the state of Kentucky. And I don't know if that's just because those stores were opened in the last 2 years and we've just gotten a lot better at what we've done. We've brought in, I didn't mention this, but we've brought in 2 individuals that have really changed us from a training and operations standpoint. They've got about 35 years of Texas Roadhouse experience between the 2 of them. And, there aren't many better operators than Texas Roadhouse operators, and they just continue to grow and grow, store counts, same store sales, all that. So we're really fortunate to have Roadhouse in our backyard here in Louisville. So anyway, yeah, we brought them on. They've completely shifted things, and it's amazing when you get those true operators, true executives, like what kind of impact they can have. So, we owe a lot to them. Those were 2 good hires that we've made. we made a lot of bad ones too.
I would ask you about that. I can't imagine those people were cheap.
Nope.
Right? Like incredibly expensive. And so when you look at, I don't care what the actual number is, but you're looking at more than $250,000 in expense, at least, to absorb these bodies. That's a lot. You could pay yourself that. You could just take that money, go to Vegas, put it down on black, and maybe double it. There are 1,000 things you could do with that money. And you chose to invest it in leadership. I've always believed that great people don't cost you money, they make you money. But I think that for a lot of people, especially when they're small or medium and looking to go big, it's hard to stomach those salaries. How did you reconcile it for yourself?
Yeah, and we kid that I make 0. My wife, who works with us, makes double that, and Chuck, our business partner, makes half of that. So yeah, we are keeping everything in the business right now. My belief was, and I think this will come true, that it is a lot cheaper to do things right the first time than to hire a bunch of B and C leaguers that have no idea what they're doing, have never expanded a brand before, have never done any of this before. And again, we sure as heck haven't. So we kind of have, but not to this extent. So having those people that have done that, we kind of had to have them, and we hired some of those B and C leaguers that were at the big brands, and they looked great on paper, but they didn't know how to build things from scratch. They were used to going in there with their audit sheet and, all right, yep, everything looks good. We'll see you. We'll see you in a month. And anyway, so those are the people that we're hiring. So yeah, we've self-funded just through the exit of the previous 2 ventures. We've self-funded pretty much this whole thing. We brought in a few smaller investors to really pay off a little debt. So we're essentially debt-free. We're going to invest a lot of money on the franchise development piece next year through marketing and all that. So we're going to pour a ton into that. But yeah, it sucks to have, when the numbers are in parentheses, corporately, that's never a good thing, right? But we're at a turning point now and a tipping point where we have enough stores open and enough royalty flow coming in. The stores this year are doing better than last. And so, we worked so hard on our cost of goods and unit level economics, and really shored those up in the last 3 to 4 months. So we're feeling good about next year. But to go back to your question too about how we're growing, franchising, definitely a piece of it. We've raised money for joint venture. So we have currently 4 JV stores. We'll open another 3 to 4 next year. So we're using outside capital to build those stores. We get a percentage of the equity of those entities. We get a management fee out of it, and we have the right to buy those back in the future. So those can become corporate stores. We could potentially refranchise them either to ourselves or others who are already in the brand that just want a bigger footprint. So we have great flexibility with that. So I go back to, we're being opportunistic. We don't want to have a one-stop shop, like a one-size-fits-all philosophy. We're just trying to grow the brand, grow it the right way with the right people.
What should we steal from you? Like, what are the tactics, the tools, the strategies that you've adopted that have served you well in this industry that would serve us well as well?
Yeah, man, I'm so bad at that.
Figure it out, Chad. That's why you're here.
Yeah, I mean, look, it all starts with what you build your team around. Obviously, is you yourself, the culture that you're trying to build, the concept, like making sure you have that right product market fit. Without that, if you're just another pizza place or taco shop or something, unless you're doing things really differently, you just kind of blend in. So you got to have great branding, great product, built around a great culture with like-minded individuals. And if you're a startup, like bringing those people in that have startup experience, like I'd say that's the human capital is, to me, the most important. Like you can kind of, I feel like you can always go raise money from people. Like it's not that hard, but finding the right people in your team, like, yeah, you're gonna have some misses, like you and I have both had, plenty of. But once you get it, and also we have basically an equity program for our those key employees, and so we are all aligned. And this was a kind of a take out of the Roadhouse book, I guess, with their buy-in, like managing partner program. Not that we require any money to be given to us, but we're giving basically equity in the brand, and that pays out upon a certain point in time. So we're all aligned to make this thing big and well run and profitable, all the things. So we're all on the same course. So it's good.